Everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, taking a fun video for you guys today because we're going to be talking about the fact that a work-in-progress Virtual Boy core is now available for MiSTer FPGA. We're going to be talking about the other cores that are coming as well. That is because you're not watching MiSTer FPGA footage right now, you're watching a real direct capture from Virtual Boy hardware, but there wasn't enough working on the current core to be able to do a 10-minute video segment. So I figured I'd kind of mix it up and talk about the fact that we're going to be getting a lot of cores in 2026. No set date, but it is going to be fun. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. But right now you are watching the work in progress core basically try to play some Virtual Boy games. You can slightly get into Virtual Tetris, but otherwise pretty much every game will get you into some sort of menu, but not too much further from there, because this is definitely the early days. It is day 0, and Kitrinx, one of the moderators on the MiSTer Discord, wrote this core herself, and it's definitely going to be something that's going to need iteration to be a fully playable core. But again, that is absolutely amazing. And later on in the video, I will talk about the NEC PCFX core in development as well, which shares a CPU in common with the Virtual Boy, and definitely this will help aid in that development too, I'm sure. Before we get too much further involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. Now honestly, obviously the Virtual Boy doesn't have the biggest or most robust library in the world, but there are a handful of games on there that I would consider must-plays. And again, right now you are watching real Virtual Boy footage with Wario here, and moving over to Test Chamber, you're actually watching Virtual Boy emulation. If you've never seen Test Chamber before, I did a video on this when the developer released it. It's basically the concept of Portal, except in something like the Virtual Boy environment. And there is still a lot of horsepower on the Virtual Boy in and of itself, because the actual CPU on it was no actual wimp. It did have a lot of horsepower, just people didn't get a chance to see a lot of what it did, because obviously the Virtual Boy died in the retail environment. But honestly, something like Jack Bros, 10 out of 10 fun game to play, and maybe, just maybe, on a MiSTer FPGA, if you have a 3D screen, you might actually be able to get some stereoscopic 3D going as well. But obviously nothing is promised or guaranteed on that front, just one of those things. It's a potential of what could potentially happen in the future. And that was one more potentially than I probably needed, but I'm going to leave it in there. And this is why I love MiSTer FPGA and why retro gaming is making a comeback. Basically every single platform is going to see some love on MiSTer. Because I fully admit the back half of 2025 was a little bit quiet on core development, but basically that's because a lot of things were in active development in the background being talked about, and now you're seeing a lot of them, and that's what we're talking about in the video. I think we're going to have a very spicy back half of 2026 when it comes to MiSTer FPGA, and even some fun in the beginning half of the year as well. But let's now take a look at a work-in-progress core from Harmonic 79 for Darius, and obviously if you can't tell already, this is the Darius that uses the ultra-wide screen in arcades, and in reality is more than one CRT monitor with some very creative mirror placement to give it the ultra-wide look without seams, and Harmonic 79's definitely nailed it so far. Even if this isn't available to test, this looks incredibly far along. The only comment I have is Harmonic 79. I would have gone with Harmonic 69, but that is just me personally. But otherwise, I love seeing stuff like this because I've always wanted to see one of the ultra-wide games work on MiSTer FPGA, and even though if I had my choice, I would have totally picked Warrior Blade. Rasen Saga 3 is the first ultra-wide game to get. I am not complaining in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying if you've never played Warrior Blade, it is one of my top 10 favorite arcade games of all time ever made. But this is definitely going to be awesome when it is ready, and I'll definitely do a video when there's either a beta version out to test or a final version. But again, you're seeing a lot of new developments on MiSTer FPGA in like the last month or so, and it's definitely going to be a very exciting year. But here's a soundtrack sample. It's not perfect, and I'll be right back. Kept the audio volume there a little bit lower because it is distorted, not in the way that's going to affect your ears or hurt them whatsoever, but just one of those things. You can decide to turn it up if you want. but I absolutely love Darius or Darius. Every time I pronounce it, someone says to say it the other way, so we'll go ahead and just talk about it both ways. And there is a really fun and long lineage of Taito playing around with this widescreen and ultra widescreen monitor aspect ratio in arcades. And trust me, these cabinets are absolutely massive, and if you want to run these arcade boards today, it is a pain because you basically have to take the bezels off of CRTs, more specifically PVMs, to make it work easily, and use a mirror setup to get rid of the seam. And hopefully we see a lot more of these Taito boards in the future, because again, some of the best games ever made in my opinion, and cabinets you're definitely not going to see very often whatsoever, because these things definitely broke down because of the monitors. But Warrior Blade, even though it doesn't have a MiSTer FPGA core, is my #1 hope for 2026, even though I don't expect it. Since it is my video and I can basically make you guys watch and listen to whatever you want, here's the best soundtrack Taito ever made, and I'll be right back. Warrior Blade has absolutely nothing to do with MiSTer FPGA in the current date, but otherwise I made you listen to it anyway because I love that damn game. Now moving over to the IGS PGM, Wicker Waka is working on this core as well, and it is one I absolutely want to see finished and get to test in 2026. Because the IGS PGM, every single time I talk about it, I tell everyone who will listen, it is absolutely a hidden gem platform with some of the best arcade games of its generation. It's basically on paper a more powerful Neo Geo AES or MVS with some custom IGS hardware on board as well. But it is going to be a very tricky core to develop just because there is an ARM7 CPU on board some games that has a protected ROM on it that basically allows these games to run. Now some of them have been basically deprotected, as the internet calls it when they do it, but it is going to take a lot of time to be able to get something like the ARM7 CPU to spit out its protected code to be able to run an FPGA. At least that would be the assumption of how it's going to work, at least in my opinion. But there are so many incredible games on the IGS PGM, and this is basically going to bring, once the core is 100% done and every game runs, dozens upon dozens of absolute bangers. Something like Demon Front here, every bit as good as Metal Slug, absolutely outstanding graphics and gameplay, and a PGM game that I feel like no one really talks about whatsoever. I love this game so much I don't only have it on cartridge in my PGM collection, I just recently got the 1.1 revision from Korea, which is on a single JAMA PCB, because it has some slight changes, and I figured if I love the game so much, why not have the revised version of it as well. But honestly, PGM coming to MiSTer FPGA, one of the most exciting things in a while. Now moving over to Hotego and the Capcom CPS-3, I didn't include the 3DO core in this video just because I already talked about that as a singular video, and because it is evolving so quickly, by the time you watch this, it has probably seen more improvements. Because I just saw and got pinged on the MiSTer Discord that there is a brand new commit to the 3DO core to deal with some of the audio clipping in some games. That's definitely exciting. The CPS-3 in 2026, again, something huge to look forward to. I know this is a lot of people's most requested core, and I think you'll probably be very happy by the end of the year. And honestly, with Third Strike even getting ported to PCs recently, it really is having a resurgence as far as Street Fighter 3 is concerned. It's also going to be our next soundtrack sample, the third one in fact, pun very much intended, and I'll be right back with our MiSTer FPGA news. I mean, honestly, I can't wait to hear all the music from the Capcom CPS-3 games coming out of MiSTer FPGA, but remember, as I talked about in a previous video, the beta from Hotego is going to start out for the 64MB games, so we're only talking about the original Street Fighter 3 as well as Red Earth. The rest of the games will be coming later in the year. Now moving over to the one that I am personally the most excited about on the console side. Now that 3DO is out, Reverend Gumby is still working on the NEC PCFX core. It is doing a few more things, but honestly not enough to make an entirely new video, and that isn't a knock on the development process. It's just, I live by the axiom of show don't tell. I want to show you guys stuff in new videos, not just tell you what is being talked about on Discord. but the actual OS menu is running with proper colors now, and honestly, maybe in the next month or so, I feel like you might see a single screenshot or some corrupted gameplay. And even though the NEC PCFX was again a failure that had a big personality crisis as to what it was supposed to be, whether it was an actual 2D powerhouse or some sort of anime FMV machine, there are definitely some hidden gems on this one like Zenki. It might only take 35 minutes from start to finish to beat this game, but it is an amazing beat 'em up. It has absolutely stunning 2D graphics and showed that the NEC PCFX was a 2D beast that could rival and even exceed what the Sega Saturn did in some instances. There's other games like Team Innocent that are absolutely Resident Evil with a cute, colorful, cheery vibe to it long before Resident Evil was actually a game. Don't let anyone tell you that the PCFX is not worth playing. There are probably like 7 or 8 games that I think are absolutely things that people would enjoy, and about 40 or 50 games that definitely range in quality from, I could take it or leave it, to what in the ever-loving hell were people at NEC and Hudson Soft thinking back in the 90s, but it's still preservation, it's still great. But the big news of the day, and again, gotta structure this video differently because there isn't enough content to talk about over 10 minutes, is that there is a Virtual Boy core in development. You can go download it now, and if you're lucky, the stars align and you smile at it in just the right way, you can get into Tetris here and play around a little bit. A big thanks to Pixel Cherry Ninja. I actually stole his Tetris footage just because I have a very busy week. We have 16 people coming over for Easter, and if I'm not recording audio or dealing with client work, I am getting the house ready. When I say quote-unquote stole, Pixel and I are friends, even if I think he does eat a few too many cans of beans here and there. But there is a lot of exciting stuff coming from MiSTer FPGA in the future that we know about, and I'm sure there's a couple of secrets out there of stuff you don't know about, or stuff that people have heard and haven't told you in video form yet. But short of that, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.